All right, Clash in Paris. I'm just going to cut to the chase. This was an average show with an ending that we all wondered was going to happen. Possibly has happened. Maybe. We don't know. Because you see from my title what it is. But you wonder, is this going to be what it is? It looks like it is. It smells like it should be. And should be what it is. But we don't know until we see Raw. There's no way to know. Not until we see Monday Night Raw, we're going to know if it is what it is. But if you look at the rest of the show, you look at the first match, you look at the second match, particularly the third match, and I want to make this clear, all the general matches were good, except for one. I'm sorry, not everyone's going to, people who love who I'm going to talk about may not agree with me, but every other match was generally good. They were fine. But let's make it very clear. It was average. This was an average show. Nothing spectacular, nothing groundbreaking, nothing new. That's what this felt like. It felt average. Now, opening is a match I didn't expect to be very good, but it was. But here's the thing. The story sucks. The general story sucks. At least until, Friday? If you watch Friday, you saw when Bronson Reed talked about being Samoan and Roman Reigns didn't know a damn thing about him being Samoan. Other than that, part of it, the rest of that storyline with Roman Reigns with the Shua Fala was crap. It might have been funny for some, and I won't take that away from it. There's some that's going to think this was funny. Honestly, it sucked, and then it angered me. This angered me. Truly angered me. You know why? Let's make it very clear. They finally admitted that Bronson Reed is Samoan from Australia. He said that his tribe, pretty much he just lives in Australia. We know that. But the point here is this. His family left Samoa because they were forced out. Doesn't this sound familiar? Tell me it does sound familiar. Tell me it sounds a bit familiar that a rival family appeared out of nowhere. Or better yet, another Samoan who is non-Samoan appeared in WWE. Samoa Joe, anybody? This is where Samoa Joe should have been without the bad storyline. Samoa Joe, when he appeared in WWE, when Vince was running it, should have had a popular, compelling storyline with Roman Reigns and his family. He's Samoan. Instead of setting it up that Roman was being challenged by another Samoan from outside his own family, they never went there. They had maybe one general match back, 2016 or 17, when Samoa Joe was wrestling before he got injured? That was it. Vince didn't even want to bother with it. And that pissed me off. And then we see here, which pissed me off even more, you see Bronson Reed. Instead of them focusing on him being Samoan, and instead of doing a Shula Fala crap, they could have said simply, I'm destroying you. You know why, Roman? Because I'm Samoan. And your family did me wrong. Did my family wrong. That you forced our family out. They could have done a story with that. That would have been a compelling thing. A rival Samoan who is not of his family but are from the same island. That could have been better compelling TV. But what do we get? 2 Shula Falas. And then this is where it gets stupid. When they tried to correct it on Friday, saying that your uncle and father warned you about my people. What did he do? He came out with not one Ulafala. He came out with 2. One red and one black. One indicating his dad, one indicating his uncle. And I'm like, why didn't you do this from the very beginning? Why didn't you just make this about a rival Samoan family that used to be from the island that you came from? And pretty much you were forced out. He wants revenge because his family was forced out. And you could have made a story that was compelling here. With a proper introduction of Bronson Reed being Samoan. Yes, everyone knew he was Samoan. But they didn't do it in storyline. Why didn't they? Now, Was the match good? Yes. I will say out of all the matches here, this is the match I like the most. Even though the story fucking sucked. The fucking Shulafala pissed my ass off. But the match was very good. I actually liked this match more than any other match on the show. Now, after Roman won the match, which he had to do what? I think he did Yeah, he did 2 Superman punches. Then he had to spear him at least twice. Or 3 times. I can't remember. 2 or 3 times of a spear or 2 or 3 times with Superman punches. And eventually wore him out enough that he finally beat Bronson Reed. But here's where it gets interesting. Once it was over, Roman got his sneakers back. He decided to call someone over, cut them loose from the strings, signed them, and started throwing them into fans. Which, I will say this. The Paris, France, Paris, they were loud, man. Which usually in Europe they're always loud. But they were very loud here, and I did like it. I did like how loud the fans were. But then what do we get? We get a Bronson Reed pissed off. We get a Braun Breaker spearing Roman out of his boots. And then we didn't get 1 tsunami. We got 3 more tsunamis to Roman. Had to be put on the stretcher. Then Jay came out to try to help. Got his ass handed to him by a spear. And that was it. Now, here's the thing. If you had gotten rid of the Shulafala crap and just focused on Bronson Reed being a rival Samoan from the same island, and supposedly because his family were the leaders of the Samoan tribe and his family was ejected, you could have at least something decently good. But no, we get the stupid Shulafala with this, so this segment sucked. But because they did try to correct it on Friday and go from that to this, I will at least say it was mostly effective, but the storyline still sucked. Next, a storyline that we still don't know if they're going to go there. Street Profits versus the Wyatt Six. Now I got to say this about the Wyatt Six. Don't care. I'm not saying that everyone isn't developed somewhat. The one who's best developed is Bo Dallas. And seeing that he had been talking on Friday about his family and everything and messing with the Street Profits, I understand. But let's be honest here. When was the last time you guys cared about Bo Dallas? He's not a champion. You got Dexter Lumis, who's champion. You got Gracie, who's champion. Gacy, who's champion. He just runs it, and he doesn't feel important. He doesn't. You know why? They were gone for so many months, then they were brought back, and then they were given the tag champs title. And you see I'm botching him because I'm like, why would you care about the Wyatt Six? Why? When they left them hanging due to the fact of one person being injured. I remember one person was injured. I don't remember who, but one person was injured and everybody else was left to wait until that person recovered, and then they brought them back, and then they let them have the tag titles. And it feels too little too late with the Wyatt Six. Now, we've been wondering, will they ever break up Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford? And supposedly right now, they've been showing a little bit of dissension between each other, and then this match happened. And you're like, okay, so we're going to get Angelo Dawkins and we're going to get Montez Ford having issues between each other. An issue that B-Fab is going to be in the middle of. And I don't know if you're going to have, and they should, but they probably won't, a Bianca Belair will be involved in it as well. Because I'm wondering if Angelo Dawkins gets sick of this, beats the shit out of a Montez Ford, and B-Fab is there helping to beat his ass, will you see Bianca work with a husband? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think B-Fab will be involved at all. She would just be there in shock that either Angelo is going to turn on Montel or Montel is going to turn on Angelo if they go there. Well, we're not going to know until tomorrow because they will have Raw and we will find out what's going on. Just like what was going to happen at the end of the show. I'll explain that later. The match next. The Women's IC title, which was the worst match of the entire show. Look, I'm not against Nikki. Not. Is she a legend in WWE when it was there? You could say yes because she was part of the Divas. That's what she was. Total Divas revolved around her with John Cena. I'm sorry, it did. Yeah, Daniel Bryan had his moments with Brie, but this was more about Nikki dealing with John than anything else. And then they did Total Bellas, and it's been more of them being reality show celebrities than wrestlers. And I'm not taking anything from them. Nikki did improve her ring work. Well, no. I think the reason I botch is due to the fact that, yes, Nikki did improve her ring work. She did. But then she left. She left 11 years ago. Well, technically she left less than that, but let's put it in this respect. She really didn't have anything prominent until about 2014. And then it started really to fade off, and then she and Brie left. And to be honest, they haven't really done anything. And then she comes back. And to be honest, her ring work has not been that good. I'm not against her, but since she didn't work for so long, her ring work, which had improved from here to here, fine. She was always mediocre. She did improve enough that she could be above average. But here you could see that she's not above average anymore. She's sloppy. Because what did you see at one point? I don't even know if I have a shot of it. I'm going to see if I can get it afterward when I'm doing the edit for this. Where you literally see her do a drop kick and she's not even close. She thought she can do a springboard drop kick off of not the second turn rope, but the turnbuckle turn rope. The second one. Instead of going to in between the two turnbuckles, she decides to go to one of the turnbuckles. You see I'm botching here. I'm like, I can't believe she did that. She went to the turnbuckle, decided to springboard off of that, and she wasn't even close. Instead of going to the second turn rope that's in between two buckles, like this, she jumps off of here. She decides to go to this, jumps off, and she looked like shit. And some of her own moves look very sloppy. Now, if you did notice, I believe it was her left leg, or was it her right leg? I think her left leg had a really big red bruise on it. Really big. And the thing here, when you see it, that could have contributed for her not being able to really get a good kickoff. Many people will say that. And I will say, yes, if you got a nasty bruise like she did, a big red one, that would interfere a little bit in you trying to do a drop kick off of one of the turn ropes. But you're in the corner where the turnbuckle is. And Becky was very, very far away. And she didn't even come close. Becky was ready to swat her away, but she wasn't even close enough to do it. I think she was thinking she was going to try and do not a body slam, but I don't know if she would have been able to do a splash from that distance. But I would have understood if she tried to do a turning splash. But that's just me. Becky won it. It just looked bad. Next match. The match that I'm like, yes, it was a good match. It was. But where's... What? If you look at Cesaro with Sheamus, years ago, we have the same situation here between Sheamus and Rusev. The same thing. This is what I'm thinking. This story that Sheamus and Rusev has is the same story that Sheamus had with Cesaro. They didn't stand each other. They kept fighting one another. And eventually, Sheamus and Cesaro came together and became a tag team. When you look at this story, where either Sheamus was able to beat Cesaro and Cesaro was able to beat Sheamus, and it just still didn't end, this is what it feels like. It feels like this was like a best of 7. They beat each other, but they didn't want to stop. until it became a tag team. And that's what I think is going to happen here. I could be wrong. Fine. I'm wrong. But Sheamus dealing with Rusev feels like it's going to be them eventually continue fighting each other. Then they're going to be dealing with a group of guys or somebody, and then they're going to become a tag team. And that feels predictable because we got that with Sheamus and we got that with Cesaro. And now it feels like we're going to get this with Sheamus and Rusev. If I'm wrong, fine. I'll be fine to eat crow. I'm fine if I make mistakes. But that's what it feels like. The match that I knew would be good, and it was decently good, and that was John Cena versus Logan Paul. Since this was the last match for Cena, he did do more work than he normally did. You guys notice that in this match, John Cena did more work than he normally does. We don't normally see him this much do this work when he wasn't nearing retirement. And here, with all the work he's been putting in, it was really good for him. I actually am very satisfied with the match with John Cena. Of course, he can't do the same thing he could do before, lifting up people like they were nothing but toys. He just doesn't have the physical strength anymore. But most of the match, he did well. Most of the moves he did, yes, were his average moves, but he did add a couple of extra things in. And I will tell you that was all right. I didn't really have a problem with that. And this was good to see that Logan had to pull out more out of his repertoire, which he did. I wasn't totally against how Logan is. And let's be honest here. I don't say much about Logan Paul. I know he is a great pro wrestler. And the key here is, and this is the key, Logan is still popular on YouTube and social media. But there's going to be a point. It's going to be a point that he will need to let that go. Because storyline-wise, Logan Paul caring so much about his social media presence eventually is going to get old and no one's going to care. Eventually they'll have to move away from it. Like Miles Bourne in NXT. They focus heavily on his deafness. And it's understandable. It's right there. The way he talks, it's obvious he's deaf. But eventually they will need to move away from that deafness and focus on different things to book him. That's what I see with Logan. The same thing. Eventually he will need to be moving away from his social media presence and focus on doing other storylines without worrying about YouTube, worrying about Prime, worrying about any of that shit. He will need to do something different. But it's just me. You guys tell me below. Next, final match. CM Punk versus Jey Uso versus LA Knight. LA Knight, yeah, baby. And Seth Rollins for the World Championship. This is the only thing that saved the show. Sorry. The rest of the show was average. Taking away how good most of the matches were and a stinker when it came to Becky and Nikki Bella. But this was the most important match of the show because it was the World Championship. But here's the thing. You already ejected Bronson Reed. You already ejected Braun Breaker. You had Roman choke out Paul Heyman. So they're all eliminated. And yes, as you see in my face, he was interviewed, Seth, on those issues. And he said, I'm already 2 steps ahead. And we all knew it had to be something. We didn't know who, but then we did. Because there's no way you didn't think about it like I did at one point during the match. Because I didn't think about it at first. What he said. I thought there has to be someone who's going to have to get in. Because I knew they were going to get another person to come in. But nearing the end of the match, I'm thinking, okay, there's no way they're going to let Seth win the LA Knight. Not Jay. And definitely not the Punk. It makes no sense for him to drop it. He needs help. And there's only one person that could be. But I didn't think that they would actually pull the trigger on her actually interacting. I was wondering if they were going to do it. Like everyone, we all wondered, will Becky Lynch join her husband and help her with the vision? Well, we get our answer. She gonad shots CM Punk while Seth's in his arms about to get another GTS to the face. And Seth wins. And now Becky without her IC title. She was out there without it. She was in a zip-up shirt. She was in zip-up sweatshirt. Her face was covered. She took it off. She showed herself. No title around the waist. She didn't want to come out with an IC title. It was all about Seth, making sure that he was the winner here. But here's the question. Is Becky in division? My title basically says, finally, Becky is with division. I didn't say join, but I also put a question mark on the saying, is she Becky with division? Because that's the big question now. Because we will need to see this Monday, which they will be filming in Europe. It's not going to be in America still. Will Becky be joining division? Because at this point, they need to have her there. They need an extra woman. And even though Biggie Langston, Big E, had speculated if Becky's doing this, wouldn't it be able to get April involved? Let's make it very clear. Do we want to see her back, AJ Lee? Yes, we do. We want to see AJ Lee back. We've been wondering why hasn't she come back anyway. This could be the catalyst for it, but we don't know yet. People loved AJ Lee, and she has not been involved in wrestling for quite a while other than Women of Wrestling. Wow. At one point, that was like 4 years ago, easily. More for that, I don't know. But the question's going to be, are they going to do this angle? Because people will love to see AJ. They will love to see Becky working with Seth. And they would love to see CM Punk working with AJ. But it's a big question. And this is just me. And I hope you enjoy this Clash of Paris. Please give me a comment below. I'll see what I can do about making some more Gump Goodness videos. And maybe a Gump Report or two if I can this week. You guys tell me below what you think. Peace.